It's the BSDFS Fantasy Football Podcast. If you don't know, now you know. If you ain't listening, why not? Boom.
This is the BSDFS Fantasy Football Podcast, brought to you by Scotty, Brian, and Mike. With the quick picks that'll make you the quick bucks, we're going to succinctly cover all the quick picks that will make you money. Now let's get into it. We're about halfway through the season. We've been having a lot of fun, and let's start off with some quarterback. Mikey, go ahead and take it away.
All right. Well, I'm going to start us off with some Joe Burrow at 6,200. Currently, he leads the league in pass attempts at 293 on the season. He's averaging about 46 attempts per game, and he is third on the year in red zone attempts. Cincinnati is second in plays per game, and Tennessee is eighth. So this game, I expect it to shoot out. And Joe Burrow's just been on fire almost every week. Makes perfect sense to play him.
Yep, absolutely agree with that. And then also, I want to tack on, you guys got me on the Burrow bandwagon now, but like the receivers are pretty cheap for what they are. And I mean, pretty much anybody could go off. I wouldn't even be surprised here with like a double stack with either two of the receivers or a receiver and a tight end from there.
Oh, yeah.
Because it just can't seem to go wrong lately. But,
yeah, no, they're everyone's getting fantasy points on that team.
yeah, exactly.
No argument here.
Yep. All right, Scotty, your quarterback pick.
Well, the quarterback I'm liking this week, I'm kind of chasing points a little bit here, but I do like some Baker Mayfield going against Las Vegas.
You guys are going to get my two.
Dang. So yeah, it is a 52-point total with Cleveland favored by 2. He is coming off of a 5-touchdown game against Cincinnati, but Cincinnati is 26 against the pass in the DVOA rankings, and Las Vegas is actually worse at 29th. So he gets another really good matchup this week in a high total. And in addition to that, Kareem Hunt isn't quite 100%, so it might be a game where he'll have to do a little bit more. And he's had a pretty good price point after a 5-touchdown game.
Yeah, both of them are at really good price points. And then, I mean, one thing which I think is really interesting, which actually kind of benefits in a weird way, is not having Odell Beckham there. Just because they never really gelled. He had one really big game there. So all these like cheaper price point receivers have a chance to get a lot more attention. And I mean, it was always a pain in the butt to try to pay up for Odell Beckham. And then he really only panned out one of 7 weeks. So I think this is like a great spot for him because, again, you can pair him up fairly cheap.
Oh, yeah. I don't mind him against the Raiders.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really good matchup.
Yeah. One, which again, I know you guys will disagree with me on probably, but I've been looking at some Justin Herbert. I'm going to go back to the well after he got a 41-point game in there with 347 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. Eckler's out, and the other running backs just really aren't, doing what they should, and they're not really helping him out. So he's going to have to be able to win this game by passing. I know it's kind of one of the lower point totals of the week. So I think it's going to be, and plus I know he's expensive, so I'm telling you all the reasons that you guys are going to shut me down on it. But I still think he's going to have to win on passing. I think he's going to be one of the quarterbacks of the future. And Keenan Allen is sitting at a really good price point at 6,200, right as he's kind of getting chemistry going with him. So I think that's a good stack to put in there and be able to play.
Yeah, I actually I took some notes on Herbert this week. He was one of my other picks, just because they are going to have to pass to win that game with Denver's rushing defense, and they're also the pace that the teams are running at. The Chargers are 4th in plays per game, and Denver ranks 10th. So it does have sneaky shootout potential.
Yep. That's what I'm hoping. Anybody want to cover another one?
I'll go with some Jimmy Garoppolo against Seattle. He hasn't done much, but we just gotta kind of hope his ankle's getting better each week. And teams playing Seattle are gonna have to
Blow up potential.
and throw the ball, and he's still got some pass catchers. If Jamal Adams is still out, that makes Kittle a lot more in play for stacking him with Garoppolo. So I like him as a little bit of a sneaky option there.
It's definitely a good price point.
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't raise his prices a whole lot.
Yeah, well, he hasn't
I
had...
guess he hasn't had too many big games, but...
And he hasn't needed to, which is kind of the crazy part.
Yeah.
But this one's going to be a different subject.
Yeah, if he is going to go off, it's definitely going to be this week.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had some big games last year, so he's definitely capable.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, let's move on to the running back. And Scott, you're going to go ahead and start us off with that.
All right, so this one might be a little bit risky, but I do like some Le'Veon Bell going against the Jets this week in a nice revenge game. The Chiefs are favored by 19, which, I mean, that's got to be up there in terms of highest spread in an NFL game, at least in recent history. He's sitting at a really good price point at 4,600. I feel like it's going to be the kind of game where the Chiefs just get off to a big lead, and then they'll kind of start to rest their starters and let Bell get a little bit more work, get a little bit more revenge in a matchup against his former team. So it's really going to be more of like a game script kind of play.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like the Chiefs are going to get up by quite a lot early on, and he'll get a lot more work.
I don't know. I have a tough time on that one, but I get what you're saying because it does make sense. Because Edward Hilaire has been like out of this world lately, and probably don't want him to get hurt. And it's like, we're paying you pretty cheap for it. Why not give you some of the work, get you into the game against like basically an XFL team?
Yeah, but I mean, if you do look at it last week, they were almost, with the usage, they were almost splitting touches, and you expect his role to grow a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And also down at 4,600, you really only need him to get about 14 or 15 points, which he gets a touchdown and catches a few passes. He's practically there.
No, you guys kind of talked me into it.
I just would say if you do use him because of that risk, I wouldn't be going too far under salary in a lineup with him.
Mm-hmm.
Just because if he only hits that 15, then if you're far under salary, the more expensive options that will score more, are just going to take over your lineup.
Yeah, true. Gotcha. Well, I'm going to go ahead and go over my pick, one that I really like, some Kareem Hunt here. Kareem Hunt, they're going up against a high total game at 54 points. Chubb is still out on IR, and he's kind of the workhorse back. Las Vegas is the second worst team in the league against the run. Kareem Hunt is sitting at like 6,900, so it's not crazy. It's not like, up at the 8,000s or anything. The Browns have shown they can put up some points, and hopefully at the end of the day, Hunt could get, 2 touchdowns, and he's been getting pretty close to getting, the 100+ bonus all season. Hasn't gotten there yet. So hopefully if you catch him on that week where he actually gets it, I think he could be worthwhile for that little pay up there.
Yeah, I mean, he's in a smash spot, and he was a RB, or he was an RB1, 2 seasons ago. He just
Likes to
he's
hurt
been
women.
behind Chubb.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'll go with one here, kind of pair up with McKinnon, or pair up with Garoppolo and do Jerick McKinnon at running back. And I know he got like 3 carries last week for -1 yards. Not the greatest selling point. But Shanahan came out after the game saying they were going to rest him, or the plan was to rest him. So Jeff Wilson went down, and it's Raheem Mostert's still out. It's pretty much McKinnon and JaMychal Hasty in the backfield. So I don't think they're just going to hand that backfield over to a rookie. And if you look at Jerick McKinnon's athletic profile, 4.41 40-yard dash, 110.5 speed score, that's 91st percentile, 97th percentile burst score, 94th percentile agility score, and 99th percentile on his bench press for running backs. He's had a lot of injuries since those were measured, but he could only downgrade but so much from those injuries. So
I was surprised they didn't drop his price after a -0.1.
Yeah, I don't know why, but
I would think, I guess he had a pretty solid base for the first 4 games, and then it's just kind of been downhill from there. But again, with injuries and everything. But, I would still think that they would be able to kind of price them a little bit better than that.
Yeah.
But, which, again, that could, kind of create the differentiation there that we're looking for, where a lot of people are going to stay off of them. So, that could be a pretty sneaky pick. But you'd probably need him to get about 20 points to be able to make value at 5,700.
Yeah, and I think he's capable of that. And on the DraftKings, app, when it's got the little, defense versus position, it's got Seattle ranked 14th, but it's a little skewed because they're not that good against the run. It's just teams
People
have
know
to
they can
start
throw it.
passing to keep up with them. But McKinnon is a great pass catcher, so he's still could be in line for lots of fantasy points.
Yep. All right. Well, let's move on to wide receiver. And Mike, you're going to go ahead and start us off with that.
Well, I think it'll be no surprise who I'm going to go with this
AJ
week.
Green.
You know it. Only moved up $200 from last week, and now he's produced 2 weeks in a row, but is still underperforming his opportunity. What more can I tell you about AJ Green than I have in the past weeks and Scotty last week? At that price, he's well capable of scoring just as much, if not more, as Higgins and Boyd. So
Yeah, well, if there's 400 yards up on the table, it's going to be getting by everybody.
I very well could with these two teams playing each other.
It happened last week.
Yep.
So
Yeah, the problem with Green is he just can't quite get into the end zone. Like, he's finally getting targets and finally getting some yards. But yeah, his price is way too good to pass up.
yeah, it is. But I'm still just out of hatred for AJ Green. Gonna be looking elsewhere.
Well, I will say that the thing to look forward to. He's getting the targets. He hasn't come down with the touchdowns yet, but what he is doing is where he's still not really separating that well. He's doing it in contested catch situations, which should start showing up in the end zone a little bit more, because that's where the field gets tight. The defense doesn't have to cover as much ground, so you're going to have jump balls with receivers, and he's a big-bodied receiver who's known for being good at contested catch situations.
Dang,
So-
I actually have to kind of agree at this point, because I was going to be like, well, T. Higgins, and I look, and it's like you pay up 1,100 and you get an extra 2 points. So I might have to kind of concede my hatred for AJ Green in this situation, just because. And of course, that's going to be when T. Higgins just goes off.
Yeah, T. Higgins 40-point week.
And I will give you crap, but I do see that. I mean, it's basically like the past 2 weeks they've been right within like 2 or 3 points, and AJ Green's been way cheaper. So
Yeah, I like all the receivers. There's just Green's the cheapest.
yeah,
Right.
and there should be a lot of differentiation in there as well, that you can just switch out and stack different receivers with Burrow. So, and let me see. So I'm gonna go over one that I think is gonna be a little bit under the radar, just because AJ Brown is going off like crazy. So I'm targeting Corey Davis. It's the highest game total of the week, sitting at 54.5. He's still managed to get 10 targets against the Steelers defense. He's at a bargain price at 5,100. Most people, again, like I mentioned, should be targeting or will be targeting AJ Brown because he had kind of a massive game. And then, I mean, as we've seen, Cincinnati has shown they'll give up, 30 plus points per game, leaving, room for 2 receivers to get their catches and their points. So I think sitting at almost like 2,000 cheaper than AJ Brown, I think he could be kind of a little bit under the radar and still be able to put up his points.
Yeah, Corey Davis is great. He was one of the best wide receiver prospects coming out of college, and then just didn't perform for a few years. But he also dealt with a couple of injuries through there, and he seems to be having his breakout season late, kind of like Devontae Parker.
Yeah, except for his injuries in there, missing a few games.
Yeah.
But that, again, I think that'll also kind of keep him off the radar a little bit, because he missed, week 4 through 6. So,
Yeah.
All right, Scotty.
All right, so I'm going to go back to the Niners Seahawks game. Liking some Brandon Ayuk. It is a high total. It's an opportunity for a shootout for Garoppolo to throw it a lot. He'll end up being the number 1 wide receiver on that team with Samuel being out, and he's sitting at 5,800, which isn't too expensive. And he is coming off of a big game with 7 targets for 20.5 DraftKings points. So,
Yeah, you can pair him up with Garoppolo really cheap.
exactly.
Yeah, and he's pretty much a 1-for-1 swap with Deebo Samuel,
Right.
athletically, if not a little bit better.
Another one that I wanted to cover was some Rashard Higgins sitting at 4,200. He got a lot of targets with OBJ out. He got 6, and he was 6 for 6, got good hands, and he hit the 100-plus bonus in there. That's another high game total. And maybe I'm chasing points, but at 4,200, why not? I mean, he gets me 12 to 15. I'm happy. If he gets me more, I've got even higher of a ceiling.
Oh, yeah, I like him, and he should be stepping in a little bit to that Odell role too. Not quite commanding the targets of Odell, but running the routes.
Yeah.
if we got time for another one, I also like a little MVS at 3,800. He's third in unrealized air yards, and at some point this year he's going to connect, and why not this week at Minnesota?
Yeah. I definitely expect that game to be able to have some high scoring potential there. And like you said, I mean, he's got a lot of potential after last year. Like, he had a handful of games where he just exploded. So he's definitely not completely off the radar. And, I mean, look at the last game they played against Minnesota. He got 19.7.
Right.
So. All right. So let's move on to some tight end. And I will be starting us off there. So one that I've been looking at, I'm going to steal one of the good ones because like we mentioned before we started recording, it's a tough week for tight ends, but a game that we've been talking about, I'm going to go with some Darren Waller. I mean, he's a bit expensive sitting at 5,600 as far as tight ends go for what we typically target, but at the same time, he's got a pretty solid base. He's basically guaranteed at least a 15-point base as far as fantasy points go, except for one game where they played like shit. And then he's been averaging close to 10 targets a game with some variancy, which, you know, he'll have his boom or bust games. And all the receivers are kind of subpar. And honestly, I feel like Carr is a very underrated quarterback.
Yeah, Waller's basically the number one
receiver.
option on that
Yeah. Even though he's a tight end.
Yeah.
All right, Mike, your pick.
Tight end, I'm going to get a little dangerous here and go over to the XFL with some Donald Parham at 3,000 for the Chargers. You don't need him to score a lot to hit value, and Virgil Green went down last game, so that's going to open up a little bit more opportunity behind Hunter Henry. And Parham's already pulled down 2 touchdowns this season, and this guy is huge. He's definitely NFL caliber talent.
Yeah, he did not even pop up on my radar. But yeah, I see the 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, it's a high risk play. He hasn't had a game with more than 1 target, but with Virgil
but 2
Green
of them
now,
became touchdowns.
Yeah, they've been going for touchdowns half the time. So if he gets 1 or 2 more targets a game, he's probably going to pull in a touchdown.
Yeah. All right, Scotty, your pick.
All right. So I'm going to go with another kind of risky one, but I was looking at some Mike Gesicki going against the Rams. This is definitely going to be a big gray area just because it is going to be Tua's first start. Mm-hmm. But a good tight end is a rookie quarterback's best friend most of the time. So, also coming into this matchup, Parker is questionable as of right now, and Miami is coming off of a bye week, which always helps. He is second on the team in terms of targets behind Parker, so he'll definitely get more volume if Parker isn't quite 100% by Sunday. Mm-hmm. But yeah, definitely a big gray area, but I do like him in a few lineups this week at 4,900.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Like, I looked at him and then I was like, oh, but there's no Fitzpatrick. So I don't know. Like, I mean, like you said, it is a gray area. It is taking a shot in the dark.
Right.
So, not saying I'm completely against it. Just that's scary.
Yeah, I mean, this means nothing, but Burrow's been great. Herbert's been great. It does seem like a good year for rookie QBs, so it's going to be exciting to see what Tua can do.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so let's move on to the defense. And to start us off on defense, it'll be Scotty again.
Well, like I've always said, defenses are getting kind of tricky to really pick one. But yeah, this week I'm gonna save a little bit of money and go with the Lions defense against Indy. It is a fairly high total at 50 points, and Indy is favored by 3. But I don't know, the Colts just haven't looked all that great on offense in general. So I feel like it's a good price against a sort of mediocre offense.
I disagree with that one. Like, just because, like, I kind of thought about looking at that as well. But I mean, look at their defense. It hasn't been able to put up more than like 7 points all season. So, I mean, yeah, they might not score a lot, but the defense isn't going to really do much. But that's just my opinion.
It's more a money saver play than anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, you do have old Noodle Arm Rivers, throwing on the other side. So he's throwing some questionable passes this season.
I finally gave up on T.Y.
Yeah, I think Rivers only has like 300-yard games on the season so far.
I'm surprised he has even done that. He's like a clock
Cincinnati
manager.
and Jacksonville.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and surprisingly, Hilton doesn't have anything, or unsurprisingly, Hilton has not been able to connect with him really that well.
Right.
Yeah. All right, Mike, your defensive pick?
I'm going to go with the Patriots at 3,100 against the Bills. Josh Allen has started off hot this season, but he's kind of gone back to his old ways, at least in the passing game.
Mm-hmm.
And the Patriots can definitely capitalize on that. And they're great at scheming up things, and they've got a good secondary. Even when a guy goes out, the next guy's still at least league average.
Mm-hmm.
So I and Josh Allen, he still throws a lot of bad passes.
Yeah, he does. But I'll quickly go over mine. I kind of chose the other side of that. I was looking at the Bills defense. They kind of all look out of whack. You don't know if Cam Newton's going to be the one starting or if they're going to let Stidham take over. They're sitting pretty cheap at 3,300. And I just think kind of it's also going up against the lowest point total at 44 points. So I think that they might try to keep the ball on the ground and try to run some clock and keep the ball away from the Patriots. And I mean, who cares if they don't? Because I mean, they're kind of looking a wreck on offense right now.
Well, I think they got. I think Belichick came out and said Cam is definitely still the starter.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did.
Gotcha. Well, he'll throw those 3 interceptions, and I'll capitalize on that. So, all right. So let's move on to the sneaky pick of the week. And Mike, you're gonna go ahead and start us off.
Well, I didn't comment too much on the Bills defense because my sneaky pick of the week is Cam Newton. Cam got COVID. He's come back in a new offense, and I mean, he looked great at the start of the season, and he probably wasn't as good as he looked at the start, but he's also probably not as bad as he's looked coming back.
Mm-hmm.
And the Bills defense isn't quite as good as they've been in past seasons. Their Football Outsiders had them ranked 21st overall. Cam can get it done, and we've seen him do it in this offense early on.
Mm-hmm.
Now, granted, it was against Seattle, which was horrible defense, but there's definitely the upside, and if Cam can go off, then you're going to have a lot of leverage on the field after his performances the past 2 weeks.
I can see it, but it just like beats down on my Bills defense there. All right, Scotty, what about your sneaky pick of the week?
Well, this is kind of awkward, actually.
Damn it.
I was looking at some Cam Newton for my sneaky pick as well. He's sitting at.
It's everybody
really
against Brian.
I mean, he's sitting at such a good price point. He's under 6,000. He is coming off back-to-back games against top 10 pass defense or top 10 defenses. So, I mean, this is definitely gonna be a good opportunity for him to bounce back.
Damn it.
Yeah, and I mean, the Bills defense is just kind of mediocre, so this will definitely be a good opportunity for him.
Well, if I switched over to the Bears defense that I have notes on, you guys would have shit on me even more.
But yeah, it can't get much worse for him after a 3-interception game.
Yeah, that was pretty bad.
He can only go up from here.
Yeah, and he should be able to get some running room, I guess.
Right, that's it, yeah.
But, okay, well, let me go for my sneaky pick of the week, who's not a quarterback that's priced under 6,000. So I was looking at some Anthony Furtsker. I think Mike's mentioned him like a few weeks ago, and but I think that he didn't get too many targets against Pittsburgh. They didn't really use him that much, but he's sitting at a price of $3,000. Cincinnati is the worst in the league against tight end, and I feel like if people are targeting tight ends on Tennessee, they're going to be targeting Jonnu Smith. And I mean, we just basically need him to, get a few looks and a few touches to justify his value sitting at 3,000. And we've seen before that he can have some blow up games, like up against Houston, where he took in 8 receptions for 113 yards. So,
I don't mind some Ferkser. I gotta know her first, but Jonnu Smith has been being kept into block a lot, so it's kind of brought his value down to where if he really doesn't get those touchdowns, then
he's not worth paying up for.
Yeah, he's really not worth it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Ferkser's a great way to get off of that and also differentiate in a game probably a lot of people are going to be targeting.
You want to do the intro for your...
Oh, yeah. I always forget that. I don't know why.
Yeah, I was trying to be quiet, but I know you're going to edit it anyway, so it's easy.
But, yeah, it's not always fun to see what we got wrong, but it is fun to see what we got right. So, I'll start us off, and I had some good and some bad. Probably my best was the Washington defense, or if you pay attention to our Twitter, I made a pivot off of Drew Brees just because the Emmanuel Sanders news and the Michael Thomas being out. And I did tweet out, hey, I like Justin Herbert this week. Mm-hmm. And Justin Herbert did go off, but it wasn't on the podcast, so I won't officially count that. Emmanuel Sanders didn't play, and Sample did okay. He got 10 points. You didn't have to pay too much for it. So it was a pretty good week overall.
Nice. Scott?
All right, so for me, the Burrow pick worked out pretty well. He got 36 points at the, 5,500. So definitely got some value there. A.J. Green did okay. Hawkinson did okay. I don't remember who I did for defense. But running back wise, I made the mistake of going McKissick over Gibson. So I had the right backfield. I just picked the wrong running back. I think McKissick did not have a very good game, if I remember correctly.
I feel like they're always a tough backfield to play.
I think with that backfield, if Washington is going to be in negative game script, McKissick's probably going to be the running back to play. But if they're going to be up in the lead, Gibson's going to be the one in there.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And mine is like, I feel like I had a pretty good solid base with what I chose. I had Kyler Murray and Kirk, who you guys were like, I don't know about Kirk. And between the two of them, Murray got 41 points and Kirk got 21. So with a 62-point game with that stack right there is pretty solid. And San Francisco defense with 17 points. And my bad was Aaron Jones. He did not play. And Kelsey did not really do much, which is kind of weird. But, you know, you take your L's with your dubs.
Yeah, and I also forgot to mention my Justin Jackson failed. It was more of a Kelly game, I think. But
Yeah. All right. So it is on to the gut check.
Ooh, gut check!
And to start us off this week, we got Scotty.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and go to quarterback here. A lot of good options this week. I think I'll go ahead and stick in Baker Mayfield, though. Okay, and then running back wise, I'm going to do my Bell pick. And for that second running back, yeah, I think I'm going to go ahead and pay up for some Derrick Henry against Cincinnati.
I don't think Derrick Henry is ever a bad idea.
It's just a matter of whether or not he's worth the price, but that should be a good matchup for him.
Yeah.
And of course, receiver-wise, we're going to go ahead and do Brandon Ayuk. Is that how you say it? I hope so.
I guess.
And to go with Mayfield, I want to say Landry, but he is questionable. So yeah, let's save some money with some Higgins.
Yeah.
And the final receiver, it's got to be AJ Green. He's just too cheap. We got to start saving some money here. Tight end wise,
Well, I would fill in your
yeah.
defense right now, see how much money you can save. Unless you're going to pay up on defense.
Yeah, let me go ahead and plug in the Lions defense. And tight end wise, I mean, I do kind of like Gesicki, but he is very risky, so I'm actually gonna go with Hunter Henry here. Or wait, no, never mind. I don't want to do Hunter Henry. Sorry. All right, yeah, let's just do Gesicki. And for flex, we have way too much money, and
9,400. Yeah, I think you might need to move around some pieces here.
okay, let's do Metcalf in the flex, and we'll go back to. Let's go ahead and pay up at tight end, and yeah, let me go ahead and do some Waller. And I guess we can just go ahead and upgrade defense. So I picked the Lions to save money, and right.
You didn't need to save that much.
I'm just gonna go ahead and do Baltimore defense. It's probably not a good idea, but
No.
it's not worth that price point.
All right. Mike, it's
All right.
your go.
well, I'm gonna start off with a sneaky pick, Cam Newton,
Oh, no.
and then I'm gonna go with a little Dalvin Cook, assuming he plays this weekend.
Yeah.
Green Bay's kind of a run funnel defense. So I'm going to stack them up stack Cam up with Demir Bird. Yeah,
Bird
he's
another
still
shot.
underperforming his opportunity. Still got plenty of air yards there, so never know. This offense takes a new identity every week, so
Yeah, I'm just a little bit burnt by him, so I'm staying away from him after last week.
3,700. I don't need him to do much.
No, you need him to do more than 2.6 points.
It'll work out. And then I'll do a little Alvin Kamara. He's facing another run funnel defense. I expect Saints to kind of get up there. And then my flex, I'll put in McKinnon, and I'll go with a little Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Then I'll go with a little Donald Parham at tight end. Donald Parham Jr.
You're going to have a lot of money left over as well.
Yeah. I'm going to pay up for some Metcalf coming off a bad week. Not that it'll be sneaky. People are still going to play him, but
Yeah.
then I think I'll just pay up at defense with the Chiefs.
I like that. That's why I didn't know why Scotty didn't go with that. I was going to mention something like, if you had that much money.
Oh, I only had 3,700 left over. Oh.
Yeah, but
Okay.
originally when
Yeah,
you were
true.
trying to figure out where to pay up.
Yeah, that would have made more sense. But oh well. All right, so that's going to conclude the Week 8 edition of the BSDFS Fantasy Football Podcast. We appreciate everybody tuning in and checking us out. We hope you can take these picks, go out there, and win you some money. That's going to do it for us this week. Peace.